reporting here from the Government 2.0 Expo. And with me I've got Paul Norcini, the Civilian Account Manager for MarkLogic. So welcome.
Well, thanks for having me.
How's the expo been so far?
It's been great. A lot of people coming by, and it's been interesting.
So what is MarkLogic and what does it do?
So MarkLogic is a software vendor company in Silicon Valley. Our product is called the MarkLogic XML Server, and what that is we are an XML database and a search engine in one product. And so what we really deal in is we work in the content world, meaning documents, web pages, emails, things of that nature in many different formats. We like to get XML, but if you give us Office documents or PDFs, we will convert that to XML, store it in our repository, and then make it full text searchable. And you basically build an application on top of us with that. And we leave relational tabular data to relational databases, and we take that other stuff, and that's basically the world that we live in.
So this is something that jibes with a lot of what is happening here in Washington with open government, with the release of government data online,
Yep.
a lot of which is tied up in document format.
Right.
What are some of the customers you have doing at the moment?
So, I look at federal space, first of all, a lot of times people look at it as a vertical, but the reality of it is there are many, many verticals within the federal space. There's besides just the different organizations within there, you got the intel space, you've got the civilian space, you've got the DoD space, and then within that they each have their own needs. So let's take our intel space. We really got our start there, and a lot of our customers there, the three-letter agencies, are looking for data mining type applications. They have documents, they have web feeds, they have all kinds of information coming in there in many different formats, and they need an all-source repository to basically put that into. And then they try to mine through that content to find little bits of information, little nuggets that might help them put a person on a no-fly list or something like that. So they're mining through that. MarkLogic helps them take all the content and put it into one repository, be able to search and mine through that, integrate with third-party products to maybe show links and things like that, and to find that information. And do a lot of that in the intel space. The civilian space is a little bit different. They have different needs there. We work with some libraries, like Library of Congress. They have a metadata catalog with tens of millions of XML documents that they need to be able to put online, make searchable, allow people to have access to that. NARA ERA program is another one. Again, it's going to be petabytes of content. They need an XML repository for that. Again, MarkLogic is providing that. FAA is really an all-source repository where they're looking at, it's an emergency operations network, all built. MarkLogic is the base of it, where all the content goes into, from SharePoint and content from the web and information sitting on file systems, putting it all into one repository, MarkLogic, integrating it with some mapping tools, SharePoint, and being able to link that all together and then do searches and find information. So there's a lot of different things in the federal space, whether it's search, it's data sharing, there's so many verticals. Publishing, we have a big publishing practice, but there's also some publishing in the federal space, and so they use us as publishers, MarkLogic product as a publishing product. So there's many different verticals, many different needs, and MarkLogic, in essence, the most important thing we look for is this content, document type of information, which renders itself very nicely in an XML hierarchical format, and from there we're able to build applications using MarkLogic.
Now, as you work through some of these implementations with government customers, what are the pain points that you're seeing them experience in integration and implementation?
So there's a few things that we look for. One is being able, we like XML. We don't have to have XML, but we like XML. And there's not really many repositories out there that support XML without having to do a lot with it, shredding it into tables, rows, and columns, or storing it as we call binary objects. So MarkLogic can take XML as is and store it in our repository and keep it in that format that it came in very easily and manage it. And so the more prevalent XML becomes, the more prevalent our product becomes. So being able to handle XML is one thing. Second thing is massive amounts of data. We deal, a typical 2-CPU server, MarkLogic, can handle about a terabyte of XML or text, and that's a lot, right? And so we deal, some of our sweet spots, I like to say, is XML and lots of content. We can save an organization quite a bit of money just on hardware and maintenance, trying to build out an application with a lot of content. And then last is multiple schema types. We are a schema agnostic product, so we can take in many different formats into our all-source repository without having to know what it looks like, what I need to search on, and so that saves them a lot of money and a lot of time. And then I'd say the integration, we do save a lot of money really building an application. One of our customers on the Intel space, when they brought MarkLogic in, they had tried to build it with an application with a relational database. They actually reduced their code base by 75% because they didn't have to do so much with that content and trying to get it into this relational model. MarkLogic took it in very naturally. So, and they went to IOC very quickly. They had been spending a year and a half trying to get to IOC and then FOC. Those are the areas that we can really help out quite a bit.
Well, thanks for giving me that perspective. I learned a bit more about MarkLogic, and I gather you've had some interest here at the Expo, too.
Sure have.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thanks for stopping by. I know you've got to head out to the next banquet.
Okay.
So again, this was Paul Norcini, and he works at MarkLogic, as you've heard. This is Alex Howard, DC correspondent for O'Reilly Media, signing off.